Who's that guy?
Welcome to
Howdy.
today's show, everyone. We have a special guest. We have Daniel, who is Dave's brother.
You've heard of
Okay,
the
yep.
double Dion. Here's the double Morsey.
Okay. You're cut. You're cut already.
Just giving everyone a quick intro to how it'll go.
So this is my brother.
I think we've covered that.
Yes.
Yeah. Tests are still in the mail, but we're pretty certain about it.
Yeah.
I
have
can
nothing to do
attest
with
that
the
you
game.
two bicker like brothers. So,
Do not.
okay, apparently the three of us bicker like brothers. But Matthews
We're here to
is
talk
back.
hockey.
We're going to
Sup,
talk about
bro?
Matthews being back
Mhm.
and how the Leafs have done since he got back, how he's done since he got back.
Both sparkling.
So
Leafs fans, what do you think?
it's a tough conversation. You got Matthews, who's a generational scorer. He has the potential and the upside to be just as good, if not better, than OV. And he's playing in the right era, but the Leafs have not been very strong since he's come back. They're currently losing right now to the Devils, 1-0. They're what 1-2 since his return, including a back-to-back loss to Washington and Pittsburgh.
They may be even worse than that. I thought they were on a 3-game losing streak.
Well, Pittsburgh.
Look at the smiling Sens fan over there.
Hey, let me smile.
What
I don't have much to smile about.
Hey, you guys can get secondary scoring at least.
Mm-hmm.
What's secondary scoring?
Sorry?
What's secondary scoring? Where do you think Ottawa has that?
Your whole team is secondary scoring outside Stutzla.
I was just about to say, yeah, you don't count Stutzla or Kachuk.
Okay, so since Matthews got back, he has been good. 2 assists November 30th, a goal December 2nd, 2 goals the 4th, no points the 6th, and 2 assists against Pittsburgh on the 7th.
So he's still producing a few points. I mean, with Matthews, it's kind of you look, especially last couple of years. There's a lot of the defensive play that doesn't always get shown. When he's a great goal scorer, but has that other side to him. So it's always interesting to me that the Leafs can't seem to pile up wins with him, but they always do without him. Marner steps up, Tavares steps up, but for some reason the Leafs have that monkey on their back whenever Matthews is coming back from any kind of injury or outing.
It is really odd that the team was doing so well without him. You add the best goal scorer in the league, and all of a sudden they're on a 2-game skid right now. And if they lose tonight, potentially a 3-game skid.
They're still 7-3 in their last 10 games before tonight, which includes their back-to-back loss to Pittsburgh, Washington.
They're fine. It's just so
I'd take a
weird.
7-3 record.
Yeah, it's like imagine Washington losing like that when Ovechkin's in the lineup instead of piling up a good amount of wins with him in his office. Like usually that's how it goes. You have your guys leading the way. I mean, Marner was definitely, I think, playing some of the best hockey of his career while Matthews was off, but it doesn't translate once he's back for some reason.
Well,
I
we've
think
talked
that's a
about it a
mistake
couple
that
times before. Go ahead.
I think that's a mistake that Berube has made is almost within the first game back, he's already thrown Marner and Matthews together on a line again. I don't think you can do that because Marner has his own shot that he can take. And if you have them spread out, you have your top lines. One line has Marner, one has Matthews, one has Tavares and Nylander. Not many teams can compete with that. And Marner, when Matthews is on the ice, he forces the passes way too much. It happened all playoffs. And every year it's happened. Matthews has been out for a couple games. Marner scores a couple goals. It happens. So Marner needs to find himself without Matthews.
Well, how many breakaway passes do we see from Marner with Matthews versus without? Like you said, he's always forcing it. I don't know if that's a mistake of, you're with your buddy, you want to set him up and have a moment together, or if it's just you have one of the best goal scorers in the world right now. You think, you know what, he'll definitely make that shot, especially a guy like Marner who seems to have confidence issues at times. I think, it's easier to defer to the shooter where he, like you said, Dave, has a great shot. You see some of those corners he picks, and it makes you question why he doesn't try to do that more.
Now,
I
Matthews has been out
agree.
for a third of the season so far, and
Yes.
Marner's on a career pace right now.
Yep.
He hasn't broke the 100 career points yet, and he's on pace for 115.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. Like, it's tough to go back to Matthews and Marner on the line, but
Matthews is
embracing it.
still producing 18
Mhm.
points in 18 games, plus whatever happens tonight.
Not much.
I do agree, though. I think Marner thinks, okay, Matthews is the best goal scorer in the league, let alone on the team. So
the top
he
playmakers
forces it, just forces it too much, whether he gets picked off or Matthews maybe isn't in a prime scoring area.
Yeah.
He needs to be able to judge better. And sometimes, because I've seen a shot, you guys are right, it's a good shot.
I wonder if, like, him having the recent success with shooting, if that would tie in at all to his history of pass first. Like, when a goalie sees Marner coming down, is he thinking, well, you know what, pass is probably coming, as opposed to betting on the shot and then slightly leaving that spot open? You know what I mean? Like, if Matthews is coming down, goalie's probably cheating for the shot. But with Marner, there's probably that bit of hesitation. Like, he's probably, again, after those breakaway passes, that goalie's got to think, well, he's probably passing it back behind him instead of trying for the shot on this one. So it's interesting to see how they affect each other when they're two of the best players in the world. You would think, some kind of chemistry would produce.
I've said this before on this podcast. Marner finding his shot when Matthews is on the ice makes both of them deadlier. When Marner shoots and Matthews on the ice, Matthews will score hat tricks in those games because the goalie knows that he can't cheat, and it gives Matthews that much more than that. And all he needs is a 5-inch hole to put it in. And now it's going to be double the size because the goalie can't cheat anymore. It's Marner's got to find a shot.
Yeah,
like if he's playing with Matthews and Marner starts shooting the puck, is it out of the realm just because Matthews is on the ice to clean up the trash along with Matthew Nyes? Like, you have those three guys out there. Is it out of the realm that Marner shooting the puck hits 130? Is it out of the realm? Probably, but like he's on pace for 115 right now without Matthews.
Yep. Well, it's interesting to think about whether, like you said before, about splitting up the lines. Like you said, Matthews, Marner, Nylander, Tavares, would that lead to more scoring opportunities, or would having them like Matthews and Marner on one to just pound the heck out of the goalie with shots, would that lead to more? Because I've always thought personally, you should divvy up the lines a bit more. Have the 1, 2, and 3 punches. Not many teams have that kind of setup that they can do that, but it just doesn't seem to be an option the Leafs want to go with. I mean, they could have one of the best third lines in the league, but it just doesn't seem to turn out that way.
The Leafs have Max Pacioretty back, and I was watching some of the game, and I think he's already thrown like 3 big hits.
Got penalties for 2 of them. Yeah,
he's doing what he needs to do, and with injury starting to come back, it won't be long before Robertson's back out of the lineup. But once the Leafs are healthy again, I think it's the injuries that might be playing towards that a little bit. With Berube not really having a choice, and he needs to generate offense because you still have Domi who's out for one. Like, they're getting guys back, and you need to see what you have, but I don't think it's the right move to put them back together. But if they start scoring, I'll eat my words.
Well, we'll see what happens.
If
right now, I mean, tonight's been terrible for them. They're getting outshot 32-10, and they have 10 minutes left in the third.
I turned on the game, the shots were 8-1 for New Jersey, and I'm sure it's gotten worse.
I'm pretty sure at the end of the first it was 10 or 11-1.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's not great.
That's the Sheldon Keefe effect.
Sheldon Keefe knows how the Leafs play.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's the Leafs again. Michael Bunting scored the game winner the other day. We'll see what happens tonight, but usually the ex-Leafs have a high rate of success against their former team. Again, another thing with the crest. I don't know why that is, but you'll have a Michael Bunting, have a bit of a rough year, but then go and get a game-winning goal almost every time against the Leafs, or at least a goal, because I think he's scored most of the games he's gone back to Toronto.
No, I don't have the stat, but I'm curious to know how many shots Marner has taken in the games that Matthews has been out. Because you look at their shots, Marner's taken 68 shots on net, which in 27 games is what, a three shot a game pace, which isn't terrible. But Matthews has 74 shots on net in 9 less games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you want to look at it tonight, actually tonight's probably not a good example. They only have 10 shots on net. Let's look at another game where they actually had some shots.
Yeah. Look at a competitive
last time
one.
They played Saturday?
Saturday, against the Penguins. Which I didn't use that one.
Okay, that's more reasonable. 27 shots on net.
Now that game was 5-2 for Pittsburgh, and I have a few buddies that are Penguins fans, at least in part, and like they've been chirping saying, "Oh, 5-2. I thought the Leafs were supposed to be good." It's like, well, to be fair, 2 of them were empty net goals. It was a 3-2 games, and the Leafs looked like garbage.
If you're curious, Marner had 4 shots that game, and so did Matthews. Marner scored, Matthews did not, but
But what do we think his contract looks like?
Marner's?
Who do we think he signs? Do you think he signs in Toronto?
That's the tough decision they have to make. They either have to sign him or trade him. They cannot wait and see what happens. You cannot give up a player of Marner's caliber for nothing.
Yeah. It was already bad enough when Matt Sundin was able to walk. Toronto losing Marner the same way is gonna sting if it happens. I would assume. I
wouldn't blame him.
No, I don't either. I think he does want to stay in Toronto, but at the same time, I don't think he's as attached as other people might be with his history. I mean, not many players are so openly hostile against reporters. Just saying, they don't want to talk about certain things, all of that. Which again, don't necessarily blame him, but he'll command a hefty price tag wherever he goes. The big question for me though is with Tavares too, because I don't know if they can afford to keep both. Tavares doesn't seem to want to take a discount.
If he wants to stay, he'll take a hometown discount.
From what it sounds like to me, there's lots of rumors that Tavares is looking to sign, like whether it's, I'm not sure about the duration, but he's looking to sign an average of $6 million per season. Which, if if he plays like he is right now with even a little bit of regression, $6 million in the new cap world is not bad at all.
Yeah,
but so here's an interesting stat that I think. So this alludes to what I've been saying about Marner this year. Marner's been physical this year. He's been pushing back. And so last year, Marner had 59 hits total. This year, he's already at 14. But so he's playing more. He's playing more physical.
It's a little bit more, but not.
Well, the big thing was the other game. I think it was Pittsburgh. But I don't know if you guys saw the clip of Marner getting in someone's face after they touched the goalie. And
I've never done that.
This was, the other game. I can't remember. I just saw a quick clip on the internet, the interwebs. But I can't remember who it was. Of course, there was another Leafs player there to back him up, which I'm sure definitely helped his confidence in stepping up like that. But I can't remember a time I've seen Marner stink face someone specifically stepping up to the goal or stepping up for the goalie, which is nice. That's an intensity I haven't seen. Like I said before, I think it's some of his best hockey of his career, including that kind of stuff, like the fire he's had. I think when he scored recently, you see the fire that he's got. Like those are goals he's excited for. You know what I mean? Like some of the guys like Matthews will just do the casual little selly. But Marner, I think he's got a passion to him this year, which is nice to see. Is that because it's his contract year? Possibly, but it's nice to see from a guy who a lot of times that's been the one kind of negative that everyone has is there's a lack of grit and a lack of intensity. You push him off the puck, he's not really fighting you for it. So it's nice to see that. How long it lasts is the question too, but it's good for a contract year at least.
I was mistaken. 14 hits in 27 games is less hits per game than last year. Mm-hmm. But he just seems grittier this year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, gritty doesn't always mean hits, but
no, like he's got stank to him this year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he finally took Nylander's quote to heart finally and started actually like living up to it.
Yeah,
stop crying, bro. It's not Junior.
Yeah,
and now he's not crying. Now he's angry.
Yep.
Well, we have another player that came back from injury. I only think he's been out the entire season so far.
Who is that, Andrew?
Demko.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could just talk normal instead of being like, "Who is that, Andrew?"
I just looked it up. It was the Predators that Marner was doing the scrum, and so again, not at the toughest team, but it's still good to see, right? I think he had Matthew Nyes with him, so that would definitely help his willingness to do it. But
that was funny when Marner's doing that. Matthew Nyes. Matthew Nyes comes in. He's like, "Don't worry, I got this, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I got this."
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, that's what you need. Your big boys stepping up for the little guys and give the little guys the ability to step up like that. People are less likely to bully Marner if they know he's gonna give him a little stink face. I've thought for a while it'd be great to see Marner pick up some, I don't know, habits, but maybe some of the skills that Brad Marchand has. If you're going to be a small guy in the league, you have to use it to your advantage. So
Marner will get killed. Marner will get killed if he tries to do what Marchand
everyone said the same about Marchand. As much as I don't like him, he's still playing pretty well. He's never really gotten injured or had his head taken off.
Okay, so, Leafs fans.
Not diving into this, but the Leafs have now tied it up, and it's from an unlikely source. Pontus Holmberg from Connor Dewar on the penalty kill.
A shorty to tie it up. Look at that.
A shorty. Connor Dewar scores his first point of the season. First, second game back from injury.
Pontus Holmberg with
Pontus Holmberg.
He's
got 2 bench assists. Like I'm pretty sure he's got like 3 assists total. He's got 2 of them from the bench. Where he's just like, "Here, take the puck. You guys go do it. I'm gonna go for a
I'm tired. You go deal with it."
Yeah, and then and then it's like, "Oh, +1."
Well,
perfect.
We'll see if the Devils choke that.
It's a devil inside.
Over to Demko.
Over to Demko, boys.
Yeah.
God, Demko.
Okay, so Demko was in the Vezina conversation last season, and he had that big injury that could not be healed the way they were hoping. So it's better, but he has to learn to play with it.
Now, what was the injury? Was it a knee or like what was it?
I believe
I don't
it was
remember.
a hip injury, but let me double check that.
Wasn't
that makes sense?
That weird thing that was like in like a core muscle in the leg or something like that. Like it's not your quad, but it's like like an interior muscle or something like that that has
maybe. Well, it's interesting. I don't know if they did it for Demko, and not to turn it back to the Leafs, but I find it interesting, for instance, with Matthews, how it seems to be more common for teams to kind of be secretive with injuries and stuff. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't remember that happening as much in the past, whereas now teams will kind of just wait it out and say
it depends.
Most teams refrain from telling them exactly what the injury is, and how much of that is just the way the league is. It's like, oh, you got an injured knee.
Yeah.
Oh, how's that feel, buddy? How's that feel? And it just starts like poking at it and goes, how's that feel?
Like Uncle Stan, just poking the knee.
A left knee popliteus muscle injury.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, popliteus.
Sure.
That sounds like something fake you tell your boss when you're getting the day off. I blew my popliteus.
I'm not going to pretend to know what that is, but I do know that it was something that wasn't. It couldn't be fixed by surgery, so he had to adjust and learn to work through it, and I'm sure he had a lot of physio.
Mm-hmm.
But is Demko going to be that Vezina caliber elite goalie that we've seen? Is he going to be able to continue on that path and bounce back from this, or is he going to downgrade himself a little bit? And, is he going to fall off?
I mean, obviously, the Vancouver Canucks are hoping he returns to form, and I'm sure there will, at least for the very start, there will be a bit of a regression there, because he's going through his training camp now. Exactly. But it can't be much worse than Silovs.
Yeah.
Well,
like Silovs is not having a great season.
AHL, so Silovs isn't their issue now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have Lankinen in net, who's above league average. He's keeping the Vancouver Canucks in the games. He's getting a chance to win. He's above league average save percentage, and he's under 3 goals against average, which is exactly what you need in a goalie right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Demko, like, they have the opportunity to ease Demko into the lineup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can treat it like a 1A, basically.
Yeah. Especially if he's trying to
equal playing time. Demko needs a little bit of rest, play Lincoln in a little bit more. So it's a manageable situation.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, if he is having to kind of tweak how he's playing to kind of deal with the issue in the rehab, that's probably the best way to do it, right? Ease him in, maybe give him a game, see how it is. You're never going to see how he really is feeling until he's in the game, right? Even at practice, it's that intensity, those those big movements side to side. You got to see how it is. Especially with how the game is now for goalies, it's so hard to really be a dominant goalie now, I think. So it'll be really interesting to see how Demko comes back. But with a goalie like him, I do think he'll get back there. Especially Vancouver's a pretty good team to back him up there. So it's not like he's coming back to San Jose and having to just battle every night. So I think I have faith in him. I like Demko. He's one of those guys, you can really rely on. You don't hear much bad about him. So I really hope he comes back. That'll be good to see.
Well, they picked a good team to start him against. They're playing the Blues, so not exactly high-flying offense.
Yeah.
Blues haven't been great this season, so it'll be a good way to ease them into the year.
Yeah.
It's still the NHL, so still good players, but, better than playing Washington.
Outliers aside, for goaltending, by outliers, I mean Georgiev and the top goalies in the league.
2024 All-Star.
Outside of those guys, it's such a thin margin between your top goalie, or between like your higher range goalies and your lower range goalies. Like what the goalies can do, it's really not that huge of a difference for what their abilities are.
Yeah,
but goal scoring is just like, players are just insane when it comes to putting the puck in the net. Like they're studying every little tiny move that a goalie does and finding a way to exploit it. Goaltenders are astronomically better than they were 10 years ago, even. But so are the goal scorers.
Well, kids they start at a younger age, so they build up that skill. You have kids in junior and below that even trying to pull off Michigans.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's the arms race of offense and defense trying to keep up with each other. But I do think there's just so much more freedom and possibilities with the offense that goalies can only do so much. Like, once they brought the butterfly in, it helped a bit. They're not pure stand up and flopping around, but there's just so much that shooters can do. It's hard, you look at Georgiev, who was an all-star last year, and now on the verge of being waived possibly, which is just nuts. But it just, like Dave said, it shows really the thin margin between the top end goalies and the good goalies, and then just everyone else. You really have to stand out.
Yeah, there's not many goalies that can be consistent.
No.
It's a very short list, and even some of those top guys still have off seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. Goaltending is
the way
voodoo.
the way the NHL now is, you have to have two goalies that can stop pucks, and you ride the one that's hot.
Yep.
Yes, certain exceptions to that, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
Georgiev. All right, let's not beat that dead horse.
Okay.
So, interesting little tidbit here that I found. Just so Vancouver's third in the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
LA is second.
Wow.
Now, LA's home record is 10-2-1, so they're basically unbeatable at home.
Mm-hmm.
Impressive.
That is Vancouver's away record. Vancouver is 10-2-1 on the road.
And what's Vancouver's home record?
4-6-3. And LA is 6-6. Yeah, 6-6-2.
I'm always amazed when a team has that much of a better away record than a home record. As a Leafs fan, I've seen that fairly often, but it's always interesting. Again, going to Demko. Do you know, is Demko starting on an away game, or is he at home?
I
didn't look where where that game is.
Tonight I believe they're playing in Vancouver, I believe. Yes, they're playing in Vancouver. So there's not many teams that have. There's no teams that have, or is there one? Did I see? There's no teams that have less wins at home than Vancouver. So San Jose.
I know the pain.
San Jose has 6 wins at home. Anaheim has 5. And Vancouver has 4 wins at home.
Mm-hmm.
The other teams that have 4 wins are Utah and Chicago.
I was going to say, Chicago. That's nuts. Okay. And they're a great team. So how are they in that kind of company? I guess home wins is a specific thing, but
maybe it's just a little bit of mental stuff for them, or maybe it's just coincidental. Who knows?
Vancouver, they have had injury bug on the forward side, not to the extent of other teams, but they have had this multiple times, like top players.
Yeah,
like Dakota Joshua was just coming back, like a week or 2 ago.
Miller was out with mental leave, and Besser.
Yeah,
Besser. His injury got the better of him for a couple of games.
Yeah, no, you're not getting a laugh.
Yeah, I was letting that silence hang.
But I think they're doing just fine. I'm happy to see them go back, see what it does to the team.
I don't think it hurts them.
No, and I think if your big problem is home wins, I do think it's easier maybe to address than away wins. Like if it's a home win thing, hopefully that's easier to get back on that horse.
I agree.
Yeah, because if you're having that much trouble on away games, there's not really much that'll make it easier. You're just gonna have to bite and grit through it. But I can see Vancouver turning it around. They're one of those weird teams that'll have really poor stretches and then just turn it right back around and then make a run into the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see.
They need to get the win tonight because they have a couple tough matchups coming up. So on Thursday they play Florida, and then Saturday they play Boston, and Boston's been much better after the Montgomery firing. And then they have a reinvigorated Colorado Avalanche team because they don't have Georgiev. so like they got a couple tough games coming up, and they're all at home. They're on a home stretch. Their home record's not great, and they're playing some tough teams.
It's time to get that home record positive.
Yeah, get the fans cheering.
So I think they'll be just fine. The best thing to do is obviously ease Demko in, but if Demko can get back to almost what he was last year.
Mm-hmm.
The Canucks will be fine. They'll have a 1-2 tandem that's comparable to most teams, if not better.
Mm-hmm.
And
if he's back to close to what he was, yeah, they'll have a very good tandem.
Yeah.
Better than a lot of teams.
So they'll be fine.
Yep.
They'll be fine.
Moving on from that, though, we're going to talk about Shane Wright. So, Mr.
Great Canadian,
Wright,
Shane Wright.
Has he right
supposed to go first overall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't get drafted. I'm going to stare down Montreal's table when I get drafted fourth overall.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, he had a lot of pressure around him at the start just because of all that commotion,
Yep.
the extra media coverage, and he didn't get off to a good start for his career, but the first bit of the season he was bad. He had 2 points in his first 18 games.
Mm-hmm.
Now he has 9 points in his last 8.
He went from Nick Robertson to Matthew Tkachuk, basically. He's really turned it around.
I wouldn't say that.
That's an impressive stretch, though. Maybe he's finally found his groove. I mean, I think people tend to expect too much out of young players right away. Not everyone can come into the league and light it up. Sometimes players do need development.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's all he needed, just a little bit of time to adjust.
Yeah.
Spotlight finally off him, and he's producing.
Like the comparable there would be Lafreniere. He was in a similar situation. He was drafted first overall, and the Rangers were like everybody was talking about Lafreniere being a bust. And then last year he had his good season where he started to come to form, where he had 57 points.
Yeah,
like and a good
great back
half.
Too. Exactly.
Didn't they start pairing him with someone else, Lafreniere? Am I mistaken? Last year they had someone new with him or working different lines?
They shuffled the lines a little bit. They've given him lots of chances, so it's not that he wasn't playing with good players. It's just he's finally found his groove.
Yeah, I just thought I remembered seeing something about like some name being put with Lafreniere, but that is it. Sometimes you just need people you're clicking with, right? Is Shane Wright? I don't know who he's playing with, but that could be it too. I don't know if they've shuffled the lines much, but he's seemingly a guy who really has a lot of pressure on himself. So I can see him working, the tough start to the year, really working on it to try to see what he can do. But
according to Daily Faceoff, Shane Wright plays on the third line with Eli Tolvanen and Oliver Bjorkstrand. So not bad line mates to have.
No.
Definitely two solid guys, especially for the third line.
Yeah.
Like they do have scoring right through the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's at that point per game level, but it's fairly consistent. Like there's Jared McCann with 23 points in 29 games. He's only 7 points up on Evans, who's seventh in scoring. So they're not a lot of teams have that depth that they have, and like they have.
I think their issue
they don't have the top end side, but they
they don't have that top end talent. Like Beniers could be that talent. Wright could be if he starts heading in the right way.
Yeah,
Tolvanen, I think Nashville gave up on him too quick because he's a good forward, but maybe him. Vince Dunn's a very good defenseman, but maybe not on the same level as like your Quinn Hughes, not even on the same level as some of your other number ones. So it's just definitely not that. They don't have the top end talent. That's what they're missing to be a really successful team.
Yeah, they have all sorts of scoring throughout the lines, but they just don't have that top line to really lead it. Yeah,
exactly.
They have a slightly better version of the Chicago Blackhawks.
I feel like kind of anything would be slightly better than Chicago.
I don't know if I'd call them a better version of Chicago. It's kind of insulting, man.
No, I mean
Chicago's a worse Seattle.
What I'm saying is they have a possible generational talent with Connor Bedard, and then they have a bunch of low end second liners and high end third liners with a fourth line. Seattle's above that in the sense where they don't have that generational talent, but they have 3 lines that can score at a 1.5 to 2 line pace.
Yes.
So I I'm surprised. Like Jared McCann, it looks like he's been playing third, like on the third line, but he's their top scorer. They need to find a center that can step up to his level.
Matty Benier should be able to. Once again, this is a kid that, are we rushing to expect too much from him too soon? Because he's a good player. He's only 22.
I was just gonna say, yeah, okay, that was actually younger than I thought.
You can't expect everyone to come in and be a Tim Stutzel, for example, be a homer and pick him. You can't just expect that point per game pace that quickly.
Well, even first overalls, like you're gonna have the Bedards, the McDavids that can come in and really just mesh it, but I do
scored 4.
Yeah, but I do think there is, like you said, there's a bit almost too much pressure overall where people forget how young these guys are. If you think back to when you were 18, that's a lot of pressure to be put on you to lead a team,
as a
to
kid,
turn it around. Yeah, and again, some of them really step
tough.
into it. You have Austin Matthews, who took the time to go play with adults in Europe to get used to the size. Like, there's all sorts of paths you can take, but regardless, I think that's a heck of a lot of pressure to be the one face, even a Connor Bedard, if you're the face that has to turn this whole team around. Not everyone, I think, is built for that. You see certain people rise to it and others just fall.
Yeah, it takes a lot mentally to be able to jump that hurdle.
Yeah.
Seattle, in my opinion, Seattle's a top line center. Whether it's development or a quick trade from a playoff spot.
I think that they have Joey Decord as their goalie. He's been fantastic for them.
Yep.
I have nothing against Vince Dunn. I really like the guy, actually. But the rest of their decor, it's lacking a little bit. Adam Larson's good, but is he top pairing? I'd probably have him second pair.
Yeah. I like Larson, but I do think he's good. Overrated there. Yeah.
If they could swap someone for a top pairing D-man to play with Dunn, it wouldn't be bad. Have a true elite decor and go from there, see how it works. That could help them out too.
Whereabouts are the Kraken in regards to the cap? Like, how much room do they have to try to go out and land someone like a big name for their D line?
The thing is, they signed some big contracts this offseason.
Yeah,
like
Montour,
like Stevenson.
Yep.
Really,
even Adam Larson has a fairly decent contract, right?
$4 million, and then he's extended after this year for 5.25 for 3 years, so that will bring him to 35. It's probably safe. His offense will decline, but his defense should stay pretty solid.
Yeah.
My issue is Brandon Montour, 30 years old, 7.1 mil.
In the new
it's not a huge.
No, it could be worse.
It's not a huge overpay, but I don't know if he's worth the 7 mil.
Well, he got the Stanley Cup bonus. Like, that's the thing. You're bringing in the experience, but
all players get that. Hey, I just won a cup and I was good. You want me?
Yep. Yep.
And that can have a real factor if you manage to squeak into that second wildcard spot. Those things can have a big factor because that mentality can flow through to the rest of your team. I think their biggest issue is not Joey Decord, obviously, but Philip Grubauer. I think they need personally, I think that's where they need to improve the most is their tandem.
Decord is an outstanding goalie. Montour is actually signed till he's 37. I misread that. So 7 mil till he's 37.
Yeah.
The cap's going to go up. It won't be as bad, but
that's still a pretty good contract to give to a guy till he's 37.
And Chandler Stevenson, same deal. Till he's 37, 6.25.
He's very good in Vegas. No. But I don't think he's the player that he was in Vegas.
No.
Oh, and Montour has no trade clause, and Stevenson has a no movement clause. So they're not going anywhere, especially Stevenson.
They're staying right on that D line.
He's a good Stevenson is a good second to third line center. He's not a top center.
I would say,
he's on the second line right now. Anyway, like, I'm not saying these players are bad. They're good players, and I can see why they signed them. You know, they needed center depth. They needed more on their D-core, but was there better options out there for the Kraken to choose from? And as far as their goalie goes, Dave, Grubauer's a mess. You know, him signed at 5.9 mil. That's an issue.
His cap hits 5.9.
And for how many years?
For this year and the next 2. Now, they have Joey Decord locked up until 2030 at 5 mil. So if they can get rid of Grubauer and bring in a solid backup, someone to be that 1B, it could help them out a lot. Because Grubauer just fell off. He hasn't been good in a while.
Yeah, he's one of those goalies who couldn't keep up.
But
you guys talked at the same time. I don't know what either of you said.
I said Wedgwood and Blackwood are no longer available.
Yeah.
Go Avalanche.
Georgiev might get waived. Maybe he'll change of scenery.
No, I saw a comment about Blackwood and Wedgwood. I was an Avs fan. He was like, did a beaver make these trades?
That's good.
I think Colorado's looking to play hardball and net going forward.
Yes. Well, I have Miles Wood on the team too. Don't forget him. They have all the wood. But Seattle has potential. You know, they are a weird group right now, just because of the age differences in some of these guys.
Yep.
But they do have some stuff in the pipeline too. Like they have Berkeley Canton, and he's a pretty highly regarded center. So if he can step into the league next year and start kicking some butt, he could be a real help for them.
Well, that's always the tricky part, is trying to hedge whether you want to try to bring in a big name like that, or if you have prospects, give it a year or two and see if they really can fill in the spots you need. I feel like that's with most cup teams. You have to have a good amount of the established veterans, the leadership, but then you always need those young guys to step up and kind of take roles that are above them in a way. You know what I mean? Like they're not.
Yeah, like Berkeley Canton is one of those players. You know, he has that potential. He's an 18-year-old, I believe, top 10 pick last year. Let me double check that before I'm wrong. But he's a good player. Like I was hoping, honestly, at one point Ottawa would consider him if they were moving on from Pinto or Norris, but they chose Yakimchuk, which I'm more than happy with. But let's see here. So he was drafted Seattle Kraken, 2024, 8th overall. And his stats have been great. Last year in the WHL, 116 points in 68 games for his draft year. Just absolute great pace.
Yeah, you never know how that's going to translate, but it's a good set of numbers to bring in with you. Like,
yeah. Now, when this kid inevitably breaks into the NHL, all of a sudden Stevenson's on your third line. And then you have Wright too, or is Wright staying on the third line and is Stevenson going to the fourth? Chances are one of those centers becomes a winger, because you can't have that much elite talent down the middle without, you can't play someone on the fourth line that's getting paid $6 million either. You have to justify that contract to yourself. And you can't let your prospects not develop and have them playing limited minutes. So we'll see what they do when he comes in, but I believe someone moves to the wing.
I think Seattle's a team that will be a playoff contender in 2 to 3 years. I don't think unless they can get that second goalie right now, that's going to be one of the biggest issues because
Yes.
goalies just don't play. Goalies don't play
Yep.
65, 70 games a season anymore.
No.
And
At least, well.
And going back to your original question, they don't have a lot of cap space. They have $3 million.
Yeah, so that's tough. Then it doesn't leave you a lot of wiggle room to bring in anyone unless you're sending other people out.
They have to send out Grubauer, and it's going to be hard to get rid of nearly $6 million. It's going to cost them, some picks or a couple prospects.
Especially $6 million that kind of sucks.
The Sharks are buying.
Mm-hmm.
$6 million, or basically $6 million for the next 3 years, including the season. So, if the Sharks really wanted to tank, why not?
That would
they
be
gotta go for the first overall picks.
Yeah.
Grubauer and Georgiev. You don't care how many goals you score, you're still gonna give them up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Georgiev doesn't have a no movement clause, or sorry, not Georgiev, Grubauer. He just has a 10-team no trade list. They could bury him in the minors.
Yep. Yeah.
No movement. You can say, "Hey, we're gonna throw in your waivers. You might get claimed." Just like the Rangers did with Trouba. You can just say, "Here you go. Here's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Let us trade you, or you're gonna get picked up."
Well,
either way, you're gone.
Grubauer has a 10-team no trade list. There's still plenty of teams he could be traded to. I want to come to that, and I haven't seen another team threaten to do that. That's strictly a Rangers thing, but we'll talk more about them tomorrow.
You would think it'd be a Vegas thing because recently they've been the team that really doesn't have an issue kind of shipping people out and making clear it's the team, but
is ruthless, but they're respectable.
Yeah.
Marchessault talked about it. He said the culture is great. If you play for them, you're there to win. And they're not going to do anything to jeopardize their future because of loyalty. Like with him, he wanted more years. They didn't want to give him more years. So by Marchessault, we'll replace you. You've been here since the start, but that's okay. We don't need you now. You want too much.
They're ruthless in the sense that they don't care about getting rid of the reigning Vezina.
Yes.
The reigning Vezina.
Fleury.
Oh, you want the Vezina?
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't like individual trophies here.
They don't care about players' feelings if it's going to help the team win.
Yeah.
They're truly they don't look at the human side. And I guess it's benefited them. I mean, they won a cup and they've had a pretty good team.
Yep.
Can't really argue with what they're doing.
No, and
yeah. Yeah, no. You can play game one.
Speaking of Marchessault, though, let's talk about Nashville. What is wrong with Nashville? How do you add 2 40-goal scorers in the off season, and then we're gonna win the cup? Oh, never mind, we're dead last.
Yeah,
what is going on?
I can't remember the last time I've seen a team that had such high hopes. Again, 2 40-goal scorers. Steven Stamkos, in my opinion, one of the best leaders in the NHL in a good while. Like really, at least how he handled the Lightning, and it just hasn't worked. It's nuts. I don't know. Is it the scoring? Is it the defense? Is it goaltending? Like I didn't see anything really stick out. It's just the team.
Saros is having a good season.
He's more
top penalty kill. They're the top penalty kill in the league. Their scoring is their biggest issue because once they go down 1, they're done.
Yeah,
you have to keep in mind who they signed. Like Marchessault, older. Stamkos, older. Brady Shea's not that old, but still, none of them are doing anything. You can't have all those guys come in and just not produce.
Here's
it's not a recipe for success.
No.
You have Barry Trotz, who coached that team. He gets moved to the general manager position.
Yes.
So they have to hire a new coach. Does that new coach? Do you think there's that built up in frustration between the two of them because the coach wants to have his system, but you have Barry Trotz, who's won Stanley Cups with his system. Do you think how much of that do you think is the coach not able to being handcuffed? He's handcuffed by Barry Trotz because he can't do what he needs to do to get plays.
I don't think Trotz is trying to play coach. Trotz is GM. He made it clear for a few years that he wanted the opportunity to be a GM. Now, I don't really fault him that much for these contracts. I mean, Stammer's 34, Marchessault's 33, and Brady Shea's 30. So the length of the contracts is an issue. But this year, no one was expecting Stamkos to drop off, Marchessault to drop off. They've spent a lot of money, though. That's the only thing. $7 million until 2031 for Shea.
Yep.
5.5 until 2029 for Marchessault, and $8 million a year until 28 for Stammer.
Marshall's got 5.9 cap hit.
5.5.
5.5. If he can get back to where he was, that can be an amazing contract.
Yeah.
If he can get back to
you
where
could
he
say
was.
that for all of them. And to boot, Shea, no movement clause. Stammer, no movement clause. Marchessault, no movement clause, with a 15-team no trade list, so he can be traded. And I should say Shea has the same.
So, are we seeing the Tyler Bertuzzi effect in the sense where he signs the Leafs, he signs 5.7, he's hated because he has like 3 points by Christmas, and then he goes on an absolute tear playing with Matthews? Do we see that with Marchessault and Stamkos?
I would not count it out in the slightest. This team on paper should be a heck of a lot better. They've made some questionable moves, like overall buying out Matt Duchene. I don't know why they would do that, especially just to turn around and sign Ryan O'Reilly. O'Reilly's a good player, but so was Duchene. So now instead of paying Duchene the $8 million, they're paying Ryan O'Reilly 4.5, and the buyout for Duchene this year is costing them 5.5, and then next year 6.5.
Is the Duchene buyout possibly related to attitude?
That's what I was wondering. Is it a leadership thing?
Was happy from what I've read. If you don't know, he loves country music and sings a little bit himself, knows a lot of country artists. And obviously Nashville's the place to be if you like country music. That's why the man went to Dallas, most likely.
Is he a U2 guy?
Easy, Dangle.
I said, is he a U2 guy? We saw the effect the U2 concert had on the Preds. Just a failed attempt at a joke. It's okay.
Which podcast does he listen to?
I don't know what's going to turn their season around. Obviously, I agree scoring. They need scoring. Defensively, I have Yossi in fantasy. I mentioned this before. He's been fantastic. Can't really complain about him.
Yeah, I've always liked Yossi.
And goaltending, honestly, they upgraded with a Noonan as their now backup to Saros. Not that Wedgwood was bad, and Wedgwood's done great so far, but, just a younger guy that can fill in that role for a bit. Their defense, this is the first time I've said this in quite a few years, it's lacking on depth. Yossi, elite. Shea, good top four, even though he struggled. Carrier, Luke Shen, Jeremy Lozo, you start to get into, maybe we should add a guy to the top four to help out there.
Tommy Novak, he had, from what I remember, a much better season than he's having right now.
Yes, I drafted him in fantasy with a very late pick, thinking, you know what, maybe he'll do good. He's going to be playing with some decent talent, but he's just dropped off a cliff. I dropped him very quickly at the start of the year.
Now, Jonathan Marchessault has 2 goals tonight.
Wow.
Well,
one was a tip-in, one was a wrist shot.
Knock on Wedgwood.
Oh, by the way, Leafs fans, the Leafs won 2-1.
Matthews.
Of course. Matthews scored?
Matthews got the overtime winner.
Good for him. Yeah. So Marner and Matthews scored them? Or who scored the other one for Leafs? Or sorry, no, that was Holmberg. Holmberg. Forgot about that. We even talked about it. That's the Leafs fan in me.
From Cardua.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, no,
I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. I believe the Preds can turn it around. Trotz threatened to blow up the whole team. He's like, if we don't turn it around soon, we're going to go in full rebuild mode. And I think that's a bit of an overreaction to a terrible start. I know it's not great, but maybe make a move and try to win.
Mhm.
You know, add someone to your D.
Well, the
add
pieces they have,
someone to
that'd
your
be
top
drastic.
6.
I think
You know,
that's what the
otherwise,
trade with Colorado was Barry Trotz having made that threat a couple times already, saying, "Hey, we'll see what we do. Start seeing, see what we do. If we're a good team, great. If not, well, we'll blow it up." And then he said something similar to that, but now he finally said that, and now he has to make do with it. So did that prompt him to trade Wedgwood to Colorado? Like, it's a bit of a shakeup. You're bringing
it's
in a good goalie
smart
for
move. You get a pick, a younger goalie with good potential for a 30-some-year-old backup. Why not?
and you
There's
get a
no
depth pick
downside
that you
there.
can pick up. You can possibly pick up the next goalie to come in after Saros is gone to back up Noonan.
Yes.
So
we'll see.
I like that
We'll see
trade
what
for
happens
them.
with their season. I'll give them a little bit more time, not much. I mean, we are in December. You know how it is. Most teams that aren't in a playoff spot by Christmas don't make the playoffs. That's just how it is.
Unless you're St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, there's exceptions to that, but
yeah, it's just hard because you don't want to rush into it, but like you said, if it's December, how much more time can you really give? Like some of the topics we talked about, if someone's not scoring by December, they can find it, but usually you find it earlier than that, I think.
yeah.
Well, look at Ovi last year. Ovi had
there's always exceptions.
That's an individual thing.
Yeah. Ovi had
One
3
thing with
goals
all
before
this,
December,
though,
and then he ended up with 30 on the season.
if I'm Trotz and I'm threatening to blow this up, Stamkos is untradeable unless he waives that clause.
Yeah.
Marchessault, I mean, you have some options. You have just over half the league he can be traded to, but who's going to want the contract if he's not producing? And same goes for Shea. Other than that, Yossi would be one heck of a piece to trade. Your captain.
Yeah.
Been leading the team for a long time. And
trading Yossi is...
you get a hell of a return, but are you going to do that? Are you really going to go into a full rebuild over this?
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, with the pieces they have to go, I mean, again, I'm no general manager by any means, but it's nuts to me to go from either we do well, you know, playoff spot at least, maybe take a run at the cup, to then go, well, we're going to blow it up and rebuild fully like that. Even us, like what's it, like a modified rebuild, or like you keep some pieces, move others out.
I could understand, but could be reasonable.
Yeah. But to me, I would think it'd be a bit drastic to blow it up at this point.
I mean, the coach isn't happy with him. He recently said that he could scratch any player on the team and it wouldn't matter. Like, imagine just walking into the locker room. I could scratch any of you guys. Literally anyone.
That sounds like there's a great relationship building between all of them. When I don't need any of you in this room.
Oh, I can't blame him for being mad, you know?
No, that would, I mean, how frustrating would it be? You bring in those pieces, you're looking forward to what should be a fruitful year, even just to make it different than last year. You have pieces brought in, but nothing's working for them. I don't know if that, like you said, does that mean you retool it? Does that mean shake the lines up? Who knows? Because it hasn't worked so far.
We'll see what happens come trade deadline, but shaking the lines up isn't a bad idea. Send out one, not huge name, but someone minor piece of the core for another piece, or just bring someone in with some prospects and add to it. Like, you need to make that choice, and it's not always easy, you know, choosing, okay, do we sell, do we buy, do we stay put? But they have to do something, in my opinion, because you can't acquire all these players and then sit at the bottom of the league and cry about it.
Yeah.
Like their center depth. I mean, you have Ryan O'Reilly, Marshall, and Stamkos. Like, like that matches a lot of other teams when they're playing.
Did you just call Marchessault a center?
That's what he's listed at.
He plays wing.
Okay, but he's listed as center.
He's using Wikipedia again.
I mean, no, I'm on TSN actually, but
Stamkos has the ability to play center, but he is better as a winger, in my opinion. Ryan O'Reilly, once he's back off injured reserve, I think that's where he is right now. He'll help them out.
I was hearing they're trying Stamkos at center.
Well, they have to. I mean, O'Reilly's out.
Yep.
And they don't have any other options.
No, you need that top center.
You're telling me Marchessault shooting at 5.8% is sustainable?
No, there's a lot of things about this team that aren't sustainable. Like Stamkos is bound to bounce back. If you look at his advanced stats, he's still playing good hockey offensively, defensively even.
He's shooting at 10.4. Those guys are a couple shots away from like they're a couple shots going in from getting that confidence back and turning the season
they
around.
Need that spark.
Yeah.
And they have great veteran leadership. You know, Yossi's an excellent captain. Stammer, Marchessault, Forsberg, O'Reilly, all these guys are great leaders. So if they can just get that team going just a little bit, they'll be able to score. And maybe they won't make the playoffs. Maybe it's too late, but maybe they can prepare for next year a little bit better.
Show some promise. Like, show that you don't want to blow it up.
Yeah, like I wasn't on the Stanley Cup bandwagon for them, but I thought, well, good job, Nashville. You know, you made some good moves. You're probably going to be a good team this season. Not one person would have bet that they'd be last in the league.
Yeah. Yeah, competing with Chicago and San Jose is not where they wanted to be when they're bringing in Marchessault and Stamkos.
With the best penalty kill.
Yeah.
It still amazes me.
That's hockey.
Hockey is weird.
Yeah.
You know, there's some weird stats, but, you know, maybe Nashville will just completely crap the bed this season. Get like a Michael Misa, Matthew Schaefer type pick, and then send them into the NHL right away and flourish. But time will tell.
I don't think they're definitely not basement. They're not worse. Like, I still don't believe that they're worse than Montreal.
No.
I still don't believe they're worse than Columbus.
No, but as a team, like, I mean, Montreal's clicked for a few years now. Their core has largely remained the same from what I remember, and they don't usually have these kind of troubles. Nashville is having a lot of troubles.
Well, Montreal's rebuilding. They're expected to be bad, and some fans complain, oh, the rebuild should be over. And yeah, maybe you guys messed up on some picks, you know, like Kotkaniemi. Not a bad player, he's okay. Terrible pick though, where he was picked.
Yeah.
They passed up on Michkov, for David Reinbacher. I'm sure the kid's exactly. I'm sure he's gonna pan out, be an okay defenseman, but you passed up on Michkov.
Yeah.
How amazing would that be if David Reinbacher played football and was a quarterback?
Okay, let's move
just
on
for
to
the sake of not being a
thought that's not from.
I was just gonna say. I thought I knew where that was going, and no.
So we'll see though what happens with all those teams. But I wanted to talk about a few players from what they did last week. So Matthew Tkachuk put up 11 points in 3 games last week. Now, obviously, the guy's skilled offensively. He's a good player. Yes, we all hate him, but we'd all love to have him on our team. But 11 points in 3 games is pretty damn impressive at any level, let alone the NHL.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, he's a guy who pretty consistently produces, or at least is an impact player regardless of the points he puts up. But when he produces, I mean, it's hard to really compete against Florida. They have great depth, and a guy like him who's leading the team in multiple facets is always a great asset to have.
Maybe he saw his plus minus and was like, I need to take this into my own hands.
Well, fun fact, he's still a -1.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Wow.
He's still a -1 with 11 points in 3 games.
Maybe Brady chirped him because he's actually above Brady in scoring now, just by 1 point, but, still. But we had him with 11 and 3. I think he's by far the best player of the week. But Quinn Hughes quietly 7 points in 4 games on
It's good
the
too.
Canucks is, Hughes he's not underrated, but he's still in Makar's shadow a little bit because people talk about Makar a lot more than Hughes, I find.
Yeah.
Makar is amazing, generational, but Hughes has broken some records.
Now, how young is Hughes versus Makar, though? Because could that even be an age thing? Because at least personally, I think of Hughes as still not a kid, but a little bit more of a kid. Makar is
they're
he's
within like a
established.
year.
Okay.
Hughes is 25.
Oh, so he's older. Okay.
Makar was drafted
at least a year or two.
Makar is 26, so yeah, within a year.
So yeah, comparable then. Just to me, I don't know if that's like you said, he's in his shadow. Makar just has that kind of
oh my God,
I don't know,
Makar's
aura
26.
around him.
I feel like he's that kid that just came into the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, like, think about that. That year that he came in, look how long ago it was. Like when he just stepped into the playoffs.
It was the year before the Avs won the Cup. Because he came into that playoffs, tore it up, and the following year, led them, got the Conn Smythe.
Yep.
I think he's 26, so for a lot of defensemen, that's not even the prime.
Yeah.
No, he could still get a little bit better, which is insane. Same with Hughes.
Scary.
Hughes is such a good defenseman.
Those guys, one thing that both those guys have in common, though, is they both have a lot of forwards that they can feed the puck. Who can put the puck
Here, this was the record I was thinking of. He didn't break the record, but third fastest defenseman to reach 300 assists. He did in 376 games.
Oh, okay.
There's only 2 defensemen that did it faster.
Bobby Orr.
Yes.
And
Morgan Riley.
You wish.
Yeah, I do.
It's funny how I just love it. Every time Andrew is typing or laughing, his computer starts shaking like this.
Oh yeah, that's because I'm using my computer to balance my phone. Okay.
No,
Brian Leach. I had actually forgot.
Oh, Brian Leach. Wow.
Remember.
I thought it would have been more recently, but yeah, he was a good.
He was actually close to Leach too. Leach did it in 368. He did it in 376. It's not that much difference.
No, that's a good pace.
I'm just surprised. Did it in 346, but it's Orr.
Shows how good Leach's pace was. I mean, with the scoring not being as good as it is today, and he was still putting up assists like that.
The scoring is pretty high back then.
That's not quite.
That's higher now, though. No, not dead puck by any means, but I mean, I think now is one of the highest scoring times. So. And
the last one I want to talk about from last week, this might be some bias because I have him in fantasy and drafted him late, but Michkov, 6 points in 3 games.
Yeah, Tortorella's favorite. Yeah.
Well, the kid's great. He has some attitude and just a tremendous shot.
Yep.
I saw a clip of him earlier today. He got ejected from the game. He stopped on the way out and signed a water bottle for a fan. And then Torts was asked about it later on. The reporter's like, I'm sure you've seen the clip of what Michkov did after, signed the water bottle. Sorry? No, I didn't see that. And you could tell this reporter was a little bit scared of Torts at that point because he's like, what are you talking about? What did Michkov do? And you know how Torts is. You never know what he's going to say. So she's like, well, there's this video, he just, when he left, he went and signed a fan's water bottle. And Torts, he didn't say anything to it, but he's just like smiling. No, I didn't see that. You could tell, good kid.
Good boy.
Love him or hate him. Torts is a guy, if you have attitude problems, he's going to deal with that head on. Whether or not he fixes it,
I don't think Michkov has attitude problems at all. I think he has a good attitude to the game.
He has a personality.
A little bit of cockiness, but that doesn't hurt when you're leading all rookies in scoring.
No, but and then a guy like Torts who
cockiness.
Yeah.
A
guy like Torts, I'm saying, better or worse, he's not afraid to bench someone if he thinks, you're getting too big for your britches.
That's exactly what he did with him.
Yeah, and
I was mad because I was using that man to help my fantasy team. Then all of a sudden, Healthy scratch.
Mm-hmm. But again, he's lighting it up. So, not to be results oriented, but it's at least seems to have worked a bit.
He's scoring at a pretty good pace. Like he's scoring on almost a quarter of his shots.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like,
yeah, he is a wicked shot.
He's among the top of the league in shooting percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
which is always hard.
He's actually either tied or leading the league in overtime goals.
Oh wow! Okay.
Also, he has so much
Flyers.
ice. He's a fast kid with moves, and he's got all kinds of ice to do it in.
Mm-hmm.
He's good. Like, as much as I hate the goal that he scored against Ottawa in overtime, it was a great read. So Ullmark did not seal the post. He was basically Michkov standing on the red line close to the corner, and he's like, "Oh, there's a spot. I'm going to shoot it there." And it wasn't a big spot, but perfect snipe off Ullmark and in. But the kid is definitely just an elite talent.
Yeah.
That the Flyers were so lucky to draft him. So he's tied with Leon Draisaitl.
Wow.
3 overtime goals.
That's pretty good company. To
be tied with.
Yeah, that's great company. And like you said, I mean, if Montreal had picked him up, what a story for them. But
Montreal's had a couple misses, but that's Montreal.
Yeah, and again, there's also the teams that can pick. Like, I mean, you have Pavel Datsyuk in the 7th round or 4th round. You never know, right?
7th round.
Yeah. So
there's some picks like that that are just amazing.
Yeah, it can go the other way. Yeah,
but
a lot of people will say like, "Oh, like what an amazing pick by Detroit to find him in the 7th round." Mm-hmm. Okay, but Detroit has even passed over him 6 times.
Yep.
So, well, it's
exactly
the
who's
knowledge
drafted ahead of him,
or is it, hey, we didn't know about this guy, just like every other team? Because you're telling me if everybody, he would have been first, he would have been in the top 10.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, it's knowing when to draft said player.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have someone in your sights, you can always wait to see if you get them later, but another team can just swoop them up, right? So,
like, I'm going to use a Philadelphia example. So, I listened to another podcast today, Morning Cup of Hockey. I'm sure you guys heard of it at least.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about when Gostisbehere was playing. And it was the sheet with Jeff Merrick, not Morning Cup of Hockey. But they had Patrick Burke on, Brian Burke's son, and he's been around doing different work. And he was a scout for the Flyers at one point, and he really liked Gostisbehere. And they went to quite a few games, and they were debating when to take him. And I forget who was the GM at that time, it's slipping my mind, but he went up to him and he's like, "Okay, I want you to take this kid. This kid's going to be good, and I think we should take him now." And the scout, or the GM, trusted the scout there, trusted Patrick, and they drafted Gostisbehere. He did very good, obviously. And right when they drafted, their phones just started ringing from other GMs going, "You guys, why'd you draft him? We were going to take him." And, just basically calling them a few names that I won't say on here, but it's knowing when to draft that perfect point so you don't waste a higher pick on a player that you could have gotten a round or two later. So drafting Datsyuk in the 7th round, genius. Draft him in the 1st round, still a great pick. It doesn't matter. But, what were you able to get with picks 1 through 6 before?
Yeah.
But if Datsyuk, for Gostisbehere, I can agree with that. But with Datsyuk, I don't think anybody knew, like no scouts at that time knew he was going to be anywhere near half as good as what he was. Otherwise, they would have picked him up in the 4th.
Yes. If hindsight's 2020. You can look at every draft, and almost every draft has a late round steal of some sort.
Yeah. Well, every draft now has 32 players in the 1st round. How many of those end up being impact players around the league, right? So you're always going to have poor picks at some point. It's just trying to mitigate that and get someone for value somewhere. Like at least I would say at least every draft you want at least one player that can make it to the team fairly soon. Do you think that's
If you
a fair
have
average?
a full 7 picks,
Yeah.
you want probably one player that's going to make it in 2 to 4 years, in my opinion. But you can never bank on that. You can never be sure. Like, look at how many first round picks fizzle out. Once you get outside that top 5, top 10, that's a good chance they're going to be on your team. But there's no guarantees.
No, that's why it's always fun to see when you see people redraft or like take a class and redo it, and how many of those top players are either significantly lower or just out of the draft now because they just didn't pan out.
Well, let's do this for fun. Pick a random draft year, let's say
2016.
2016. Okay,
yeah.
Leafs fan. You don't have to tell me what draft that is.
Which draft is it?
A good one.
Let's do a little screen share here so everyone else can see.
Who's drafted first overall that year?
Not you.
Are you sure?
Unnecessary shots fired.
Yes. Completely necessary.
Beautiful. Look at that number 1 overall pick. Perfect.
Okay, so let's ignore some of these top 10, let's say.
Well, even, look, Jesse Puljujarvi, top 4.
Oh, actually, you make a good point.
Yeah. Or who's at number 5? Olli Juolevi. Am I wrong? I don't even recognize that name.
You're not. He fizzled out. He wasn't able to make it. But the thing is, you have the Oilers who could have had Matthew Tkachuk play with Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
And they picked Puljujarvi.
Yeah.
Now,
Puljujarvi. It's more fun to say it that way. Puljujarvi.
Well, even you look down. You have Alex Nylander taken above Charlie McAvoy.
Now, you can. That's still reasonable. Like, as far as saying, they could have picked him. If they really wanted a forward, though, let's look at it that way. 'Cause there's not as many options. You could say Michael McLeod, but he's been banished to the KHL due to sexual assault allegations. So, don't know how that's going to turn out, but we'll see.
Who's that, sorry?
Michael McLeod. He's one of the people in the Canadian World Junior sexual assault case. Him, Carter Hart.
Grublets do not support Michael McLeod.
No, not at this time.
No.
We'll see what happens with them, though.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah, the case is happening in the new year, so we'll see what the judgment is. But some of these guys, like Logan Brown, for example, makes me sad. Real bust.
I wonder why.
Realistically, they were also looking for D at that point. McAvoy, Chychrun, even Kunin would have been better. But let's get out of the first round, because the first round's your expected guys.
Yeah.
And as you get late, you can see how the numbers drop off here. So some of these guys, like, I've never heard this man's name before.
His name is a whole country.
Yes.
German. Or Herman. Yeah, look, was that 4 games played?
Yes, and last played in 2019-2020.
Yeah.
Now, some of these guys, like Tage Thompson was a late bloomer. He's done amazing.
Vinny Desharnais was drafted 2nd pick in the 7th round of this draft by the Edmonton Oilers.
There are some good picks, like
Jordan Kyrou. Yep.
Not super late, but excellent pick. DeBrincat. Oh, he's small. He probably won't do well. Well, how many times are we going to say that? Before teams realize that they can draft smaller guys. Look at Samuel Girard. He's a little bit smaller, especially for a D-man, but he's done very well on the Avalanche.
Yep. Well, the speed of the game now
of that sexual assault case.
Good year for 2016 class.
Sense.
Yeah. But Joseph Woll, number 62 overall. Beautiful.
We're gonna look at one elite Norris winner. I believe Fox won Norris. What year was it? Year before last. Calgary.
22 or 23.
I just can't believe I have zero respect for players who get drafted and they're like, no, I don't want to play for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
tough.
There
Depends on
almost
the
needs
situation.
to be a rule put in that if the team that drafts you wants to sign you, you have to sign and play a year or something there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just ridiculous. I guess they can say, well, if you don't want to play, we're just going to let you sit and rot for the next few years while we own your rights. But with a player like Adam Fox, obviously they couldn't do that.
No. And it's tough. I understand. Like, I can understand it too. If I was a Leafs fan growing up and I get drafted to San Jose, even if they're not a direct competitor, I'd be disappointed. I don't think I'd ever say to a team, I'm not playing for you. I can't understand, though, just being completely unhappy where you landed. I remember playing Be a Pro once, and I was annoyed I got drafted by the Canucks, let alone, some other team. So
the last 3 years of Be a Pro, I've been drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. Like, that's not even a joke.
There's someone out over amazing. At EA having a lot of fun every year, just typing in your code there. Just make sure he gets drafted by the Habs.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I just find it's happening more often. Obviously, there's famous old instances, but you look now. Yeah, exactly. Yep. But like Jimmy Vesey a few years back. Obviously, he's not the talent that Fox is, but still. And Cutter Gauthier, most recently. Yep. Brett Kermer-Gordy. Like, it's just happening so much. The players, they should have power, but it's just a bit much.
It's a hard it's a hard kind of line to draw, right? Because you do want them to have power, but if you start getting into players being able to say no to their draft team, certain teams like Buffalo, San Jose, if they get better, you never know. But like, say a Buffalo, what player really would want to go to Buffalo as a draft team?
That's a big issue.
Yeah, like I think either their GM or someone recently said that much, basically that like we're not a destination. Like we don't draw people in to come to Buffalo.
I saw that.
Yeah, and you know what? Good for that kind of honesty, but not a great image. Not the best image when you're acknowledging that.
I don't know that that's something you want to acknowledge.
No,
but you have to at this point.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that goes without saying, right? So it at least shows an acceptance of what you're dealing with, and the first step is acceptance, and then you can build from there. So how do you build that image? Because once one person does it, I think you'll have that sort of stink. You already had certain players that had those issues, like a Jack Eichel who said he didn't like it there, and then all the stuff with his injury happened, and now he's very happy elsewhere at a team that is clearly a destination. So Buffalo's image is just low. How do you build that up if you have that happening?
I would just want to acknowledge, in my opinion, the biggest steal of the draft in Jesper Bratt in the 6th round.
Wow.
500 NHL games to his name now, 396 points.
Brandon Hagel, too.
Hagel's definitely up there. Yeah. He's having one hell of a season.
Yeah,
he's on Team Canada.
Yep.
Ross Colton was drafted in that in the 4th round, so I guess that's not.
Colton's good too. No shade on him. He's had a great year so far. But those two, to get that type of elite talent in the 6th round, it's good. It's very impressive. And Hagel, he didn't play right away either. He was traded to Chicago and then traded to Tampa. Like, he still played for those teams, but somehow they traded him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Now, my friend was drafted in the 7th round. Jacob Friend. I would say we're best friends, but Friend is his name.
Okay, and that's going to end their segment on this. Literally, we're done. We're done on that.
Yeah. Try to make a joke with Toronto's 7th round pick there, Nikolai Abulin or something. You can't make the same kind of pun.
Easily the best player to come out of that 7th round is Vinny Desharnais.
Yeah, easily.
Easily. No question.
I do want to touch on one more topic for tonight's show here. The top remaining free agents now that Shesterkin signed. We'll get into that a lot more on the next podcast, but the remaining free agents, I just came up with some top names here. We have Rantanen, Marner, Besser, Ehlers, Tavares, Bennett, Chychrun, Duchesne.
Yeah. You could even add someone like Marchand, I think is there, Giroux. There's I think a lot of names coming up this year. So
the top two on that list you provided are definitely Rantanen and Marner. Like,
yes.
I'd have a very hard time seeing Colorado not locking him up.
Yeah.
No, like it's a very high percentage chance that he is staying there, and even Marner has a pretty good chance of staying. Same with Besser. There's no way Vancouver is letting Besser go.
Yeah.
It's just as of right now, they are pending UFAs.
So right now, like, yeah, you have Marner and Tavares on that list, and I don't have a big issue giving Marner a raise based on this year if he can keep it up, because you're getting some of that money back with the Tavares signing. Because Tavares, he's not going to leave. Tavares isn't going to leave. He's got his kid here, and he's in the back. He's in the back half of the back nine now.
He's the hometown guy, one of few on the team. Yeah, I don't see him going anywhere either. But until he signs that extension, and maybe he waits. Maybe he is a UFA officially, but I still think he's going to end up going back to Toronto. It's just no rush. He's going to let them do their work.
I think he's going to try to get as big of that contract as he can. More power to him. But I do think, like you said, Marner, now what would Marner be at, you think? Would that be 13, 14?
I think he's probably going to be looking.
Yeah, because you can't pay him more than Matthews, in my opinion.
But that's why I think Matthews signed that bridge deal, is because Matthews wants to see what the cap's going to do, because he knows he's going to get paid top dollar.
Well, players are smart now that they know they'll have more cap available, which means they're going to have more money available for them.
Yeah,
that's one thing that a lot of young players are doing, that it's not screwing over the teams. You can still build a good team and all that, but if you look at some of the teams that have won the cup, they have players on discounted deals. Crosby, if McDavid's smart, his next deal, he's going to take a little bit of a discount.
You should.
He's going to have to take a huge one, but a little bit would help.
You can, in my opinion, you can't really blame a player for trying to get a big contract. As much as I didn't love Tavares' 11 mil, you can't blame him for doing it. But then I do think if you get that contract, hopefully you would be more willing to take a bit of a discount on the next one. Not every player is going to be like Crosby and set his own discounted deal just because he wants to help the team so much. Some players are going to go for the most they can each time, but I would hope
Crosby was going to take more of a discount than that, but the league shut it down.
Yeah.
Like he was, I believe he was looking to sign for like $5 million or something like that. Like he came out saying like he wanted to sign at a discount. So because it gave his team the best chance to win.
Yeah.
Backtrack here. Where did you hear this? What is the source?
I can't.
I remember hearing this back in the day. It was
talking long ago when they could still sign 14-year contracts.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were talking about his most recent one.
No. This was the back in the day one.
No, this
I
is
gotcha.
8.7 this year is just him being stubborn and that. No, that's my number. And being absolutely insane with his superstitions.
Yeah.
And so is Dubas. But yeah, this is way back when he signed that big contract. Like he was like the league stepped in and said, no, we can't have the best player in the league making less than half the league combined. Like half the rest of the league. Like, you can't have that.
But because that is such a mindset to win. That's the thing.
Yep.
Well,
in my opinion, you look at that, how much more could he have made? And every $1 million or $2 million that you take off his contract, how many people can you bring in? Who else can you give a good contract to? It's a complete winner's mindset, because you'll make the money. The winners will make the money elsewhere. You're going to get the endorsements. You're going to have deals. But you need resources for your team. You see with a team like Toronto, who has some of the most talented guys in the league, but that top heavy approach then leaves you really gasping for air at the bottom half of your team. You're having to bargain bin and find people on the back end of their career, people desperate for any kind of contract. It's really tough. And I mean, you can even look back to, say, back in the day when Carey Price signed his contract for Montreal. The cap was not as big as it is now. So 11, I think it was 11 million
10.
for okay. So 10 million even back then for one of the best goalies ever. It's, what are you going to do otherwise? But you then are so locked into that's your approach there. You have to have Price on it and then build a team from there. It really helps you.
Carey Price, if he played his entire career and he didn't like drive off into the distance like he did, he'd be in the conversation of is he the best goalie of all time?
Mm-hmm.
Like he'd be in that conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to pay the guy. It's the equivalent of Shesterkin signing that contract.
Mm-hmm.
You have that guy, you gotta pay him.
Yeah,
it's just
you're not gonna not sign Carey Price, but then it does really hem in your options otherwise.
Like if you look at some of the players that have signed friendlier deals, like I believe
Lucas Raymond is an example.
Hellebuck at 8.5, very reasonable. He's a very good goalie. It's not a huge steal or anything, but he could have tried to demand a little bit more.
Yeah.
He was unknowingly at setting the standard for goaltenders going forward. And Swayman got way more coverage on that this year because of what he did. Hellebuck was trying to set that standard. But the standard was also 10 million for Carey Price at the time.
Yes, 10 mil for Price. There's the Bobrovsky deal too.
Yeah,
Florida's the first team with a $10 million goaltender, or sorry, was it $10 million player to win the cup? I think that was a stat. But
no, I didn't see that.
I don't know if Barkov's deal kicked in last year or this year. He signed to 10 mil. But that's another thing that like Bennett's on that list of pending UFAs. He's signed a 4.4 right now, and he's 28. So I don't think Florida can afford to keep him. I think they've made their choices.
I mean, he's going to the Canadian team. That's gonna be good on the resume.
But how do you say no to a guy who's one of the best defensive forwards in the league, who can shut down an entire line himself in the Stanley Cup Finals? You're
talking about Barkov, to be clear.
Yes, Barkov.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 10 mil for Barkov is fair.
Yeah,
that's a very fair deal.
I'm not going to argue it, but the thing is, they are losing Bennett because Bennett's a UFA. They have an RFA and
Ekblad, I think, is an RFA or UFA.
UFA is 28.
UFA. Okay.
So he was drafted when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Like they have 4.425 opening up from Bennett. I'm gonna butcher this name, but Samoskevich is a 22-year-old right wing. He's gonna be an RFA. He won't demand a lot, but he will demand some. Thomas Nozick, he's gonna be a UFA. He's replaceable to some extent.
Yeah.
But on the back end, they do have Aaron Ekblad that they're gonna have to re-sign if they, want to keep him. And they have Nate Schmidt, so lesser extent, he'll be replaceable. But
now, what advantage Florida does have is they have the tax benefit because
I'm not going to get into the tax benefit tonight. We'll go on for way too long.
We're gonna have a whole episode on that can of worms.
I didn't want to get too far into it, but you can sign players at discounts because they don't have to pay as much taxes. That's the equivalency of of a Barkov coming in and being paid 13.5 in Toronto.
Well, let me ask you this: which player there is taking a discount? You got Barkov at 10, which is fair. Kachuk at 9.5, which was fair at the time and now is a steal. Reinhardt at 8.625 is a good deal.
Yeah, he was on a steal. He was on a steal, but he got a good contract.
He's definitely earned it.
in the new cap, that's a steal.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's still producing like he did last year, it is. There is one player that's an absolute steal for them. Antoine Lindell signed for $5 million until 2030. Kid is a stud.
Mm-hmm.
For Hagee, it's 7 is pretty good too. I'll admit that. So they have some decent contracts.
He was once.
Gustav Forsling, okay, maybe they have more steals than I thought. 5.75 until 2032. I think he's a bit overrated now because everyone called him underrated. They're like, okay, he's a top 5 in the league. He's a top 5, but you know, he's a very good defenseman to have signed at a low cap hit like that. So they'll have a little bit of wiggle room, but they're choosing between Ekblad and Bennett. That's going to be a tough choice.
Yeah.
I choose Ekblad myself, but you know,
me too.
We'll see.
They're both
take this defenseman.
Yeah, they're both important pieces to a team. I mean, Bennett is a guy that could really command a decent contract almost anywhere. But Ekblad is a great defenseman, and those are hard to find for a good deal. I think you can replace Bennett a bit easier than you can replace Ekblad. So
yes, they have more forward depth too.
Yeah.
What's Nate Smith's what's his contract?
1 year, this year left, and it's like $850, 850,000. So basically nothing. Looking at Besser's next contract too, he's been a very solid player, of course, good goal scorer. He signed to 6.65, and then he's UFA. So they have to, as in the Canucks, re-sign him, Pia Suter, and no other real big names, honestly. Kevin Lankinen might earn himself a bigger deal, but I don't think he'll be able to afford it. They don't have a lot of cap to work with, but they do have some.
Now, Besser has had some injury issues in the past. For example, 2020-21, he missed, was that close to 30 games? He played 56 games that season. Oh, wait, that's COVID anyway. But he hasn't played a full season. Last year he played 81, but he played 71 and 74 in 2 seasons before that. So
so he hasn't been healthy all the time, but he's very good when he is, and he has been better as of late on that.
Vancouver's definitely good with him.
Yeah.
We'll kind of go through these last couple guys quicker. So already done ranting. Let's look at Ehlers, and I'm going to throw Pionk in there too, just to do 2 quick ones. So Ehlers, contract year, playing career year, of course.
Yeah.
That's the way it works. He signed a $6 million. He's going to be worth more than that. The Jets have some work to do this offseason. They have to re-sign him, Iafallo, Velarde, Appleton, Nemestikov. Debatably, they could let him go or keep him. Doesn't matter too much.
Yeah.
Ehlers
They're going to be a very Sorry?
Ehlers, his entire career, he can be one of your top forwards, or he can be one of your bottom forwards.
He is incredibly streaky.
Consistency.
Yeah.
He scores a bunch, then he goes cold, then he scores a bunch, but it works out to like 60-some points a season or more.
Yeah.
So it's fine, kind of, as long as he's hot at the times he need him to be.
Winnipeg's going to be very interesting over the next couple of years, though. I do think with their core and, like you said, even those guys that they have to re-sign. I love Winnipeg, but I don't know. I'm a bit worried. Yeah, they're really in an awkward spot.
$2 million, we'll call it 3 in cap space. It's close enough. 2. So Ehlers, Velarde, Iafallo, Pionk. So some of those guys are going. And in my opinion, you have to keep Velarde. He's 25.
Yeah.
Keep him at, he's younger. But we might see Ehlers on the free agent market.
I think he'll get the free agent. I think he'll get more outside.
He wants money bag.
Yep.
I'm sure. He's
Don't
28. He's in his prime. Get signed 8 or 7-year deal. Brings him to 35, so wouldn't be too bad at all.
I don't know the team will sign him 8 years. Do you think the team would be willing? Do you think the team would be willing to sign him 7?
If they really want him, that's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the longer deals that got handed out.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get the player. Okay, if we sign you for this a little bit longer, will you take a lesser cap hit? Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And then the end of that contract ends up being crap because they're not producing or they're not playing well at all.
Yeah, but that's a later problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's like shoving everything under the bed and just worry about that next week.
So I'll let you boys pick. Do you want to discuss Jacob Chychrun or Matty Duchene?
We've already discussed Duchene earlier.
Yeah.
I think Chychrun is the one that we should discuss.
So Chychrun is a great team, man. I loved him when he's on Ottawa. We just had too many left shots. That's all. He's
still with Utah, right?
No, he's with Washington. He got traded to Washington.
Yeah, forgot about that.
He's due for a big raise, 4.6 mil. I don't see Washington re-signing him. They have 1 mil, 1.6 in cap space, and they have to re-sign Mangiapane if they want to keep him. They have to re-sign, well, maybe not Eller, he's older. Bradish, Nick Dowd. I don't know if they have the money to keep Chychrun, honestly.
Like, in my opinion, Mangiapane, he's a guy that if you had to pick between him and Chychrun, obviously you're taking Chychrun, hands down. Mangiapane is irreplaceable. He's not a penalty killer. He's not a power play specialist. He's a +7, but everybody on the team's a plus double digits.
Yeah, this is how they've
he's
gone
a depth guy.
Yeah.
He's a depth guy who's won 100% of his faceoffs.
They have a few guys coming off the books as of next year. They have Backstrom. He's obviously done for his career, but his contract's officially done. Oshie's probably done for his career, but his contract's officially done. We have to keep in mind, too, they have 2 goalies that are only signed through this season. Lindgren and Thompson. Both are going to want paydays. And they're signed to very friendly deals right now, 1.1 and 766. So,
yeah, and this isn't exactly like a swim and all mark.
But can Lindgren command a big pay raise, like significant enough?
Significant enough to affect the ability to re-sign Chychrun. I'm not saying he's going to get paid, 7 mil or something. But if he commands 4 to 5 mil, and Thompson's like, you know what? I'm that good. I want 4 to 5 mil. Then all of a sudden you have between 8 and 10 mil in cap.
Yep.
Even if it's a little bit less. Even if they eat up, let's say, 6 combined, that's still 6 mil gone.
Lindgren's an league average goalie, though. Like he's
not this crazy good goalie.
I can't see him sign. Like I don't think Washington's willing to resign him more than 2 mil a season.
I think that's a little low for a good goalie now, though.
Year-old, he is what he is at this point. He's a fringe starter. He's never been anything more. But
I'd say he's a good backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a solid
9-11 last season. 8.97 so far this year, so that's not working in his favor. But, he's
good enough to
907 career average. You're right. He's probably more of a backup.
Well, especially in today's league, like he can suffice, but he's not someone you're wanting to hedge your bets on. He's like what Leafs had with Matt Murray or Matt Martin Jones, where he can step up and really take the roles for the reins for a second, but that's not the guy you're really signing long term and making your marquee piece. Like good backup, sure, decent stats, but yeah, I would still see more than 2 million, maybe, but
I think no. I think Chychrun will get re-signed. I think Washington will want to re-sign Chychrun.
I think they want to. I mean, maybe they just let Lindgren go and replace him with a cheaper backup. Someone like, man, hey, prove yourself. We're going to re-sign Thompson, see how it goes. But the money might be a little bit tight. That's all. Because Chychrun could easily command 8 mil.
Yeah.
And
depending on the team.
No space to do it. So Mangiapane will open up that 5.8 or whatever it was. So it's just going to be a little bit tight. I think they'll make it work because Chychrun is a stud. They're going to want to keep him.
Yeah, he's one of those players you do need to really consider making room for.
He just came from Ottawa. Now he's playing on a good team. So and he started his career in Arizona. Do you like? He's finally playing for a good team. How much of a factor do you think that has for him? That maybe he's, you know what? I'll take a mil less because now I know what it's like
How
for a good
long
team.
will Washington be good?
Mm-hmm.
I put this together to get Obi the record, and no one expected it to go as well as it is. I'm happy that it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, good for Obi. He's going to chase that, potentially do it in less games than Gretzky.
Yeah.
But is this sustainable?
Not long term.
You know, some of these guys are older.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are younger.
Some.
Do you
Tom
see a
Wilson's
rebuild
older.
for Washington within 5 years, though?
Yes.
Yeah. Because even like you said, Wilson now is getting up there. I agree where the glory years of Wilson, Ovechkin, Holtby, like they're big guys.
Yeah.
It's
Long
like
gone.
Pittsburgh right now, but I think Washington has less of those pieces still there. I think Pittsburgh is in an awkward spot where they're holding on to those glory years. They have Chris Letang and Malkin and Crosby, but it's hard to move on from that when you've had success. When do you pull the plug? That's a tough spot to be in.
You don't. You keep it going as long as you can until those cornerstone pieces retire.
Just keep milking that cow until it's dry.
Right now.
Mm-hmm.
But on that note, boys, that covers all our topics for tonight. So thank you for joining us, Dan.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure and an honor.
You're gonna say goodbye to your brother? Or you're just gonna stare at him?
Well, no, I was waiting for his goodbye first. I'm the guest here. I say goodbye.
I was talking to your brother, to be clear.
Oh.
Well, since you're going that way, Daniel, I appreciate that you have taken the time out of your busy schedule to join us on this episode.
There's a lot I'm doing at 10 p.m., so I really had to clear my calendar today.
It's not so much this time of day; it's what comes after.
Mm-hmm. Sleepy times. But thank you for having me. It was quite a pleasure. As someone who is not an encyclopedia on hockey, self-admitted, it was. I hope I brought, maybe a little bit of discussion to great hockey fans such as you. I'm just the quiet defenseman who blocks a shot or two every now and then. So,
okay, boys. Well, you'll have a good night.
Have a great night.
Yeah,
Thank you
for
listening.